I went into real estate. I took real estate investment courses. Today I own a ton of gold. We took a gold company public on July 8th, 2022. We have silver. We had Jim Rickards on, who was giving ideas for, and we check out Jim Rickards' show with Rich Dad, because we have ideas, especially for you younger people. Face it, man, your father, grandfather, great-grandfather out of time. About the same time, 2013. And I said, why the biggest stock market crash in history is still coming. So this was after 2008, and how you can prepare yourself and profit from it. Well, the thing is, in history is still coming, needs to be said, is now here. And it is today. And you watch what's going to happen. They're predicting the biggest crashes, not only in the stock market, but also real estate, gold, silver, everything's going to come down. This is the thing that's a little frightening for my generation, is because we're also sold that big bill of goods. Your house is your biggest asset. Now, the problem with the real estate market crashing, not only is it because a lot of it's debt or credit, that when real estate goes down, it's like a sinkhole. And when real estate goes down, not like so much the stock market, but when real estate goes down, other businesses go with it. And all these guys like, carpenters, people who fix the houses, people sell insurance, car dealerships, it's a sinkhole. And so as a real estate guy, when people come up to me and say, I took your advice on buying real estate. I'm not Catholic, but I take laps around the rosary bead and I'll pray for you tonight. My friends flew for United Airlines and they lost their, I think an ESOP or something, employee stock option plan. What happened to United Airlines pilots?
Hey, United Airlines was the largest pension default in history. And that was back, I think, in 2006.
Because their pensions are gone. Because when that pension disappeared for Ted's father and my father, and we're talking about my fellow pilots, who lost their pensions, it's not a funny thing because you're out of time. But you still have time, and that's why I speak to the younger generation. And when I hear people saying, well, I've got a 401k or a pension, I said, then you're being set up. That's my opinion. Now, it might work, but I think what happens if the same thing happens to my generation, it happens to you, when you're 65 and you find out there's nothing in your 401k or your pension or whatever it is, it's too late, because the greatest asset you have is your time. That's what I would say to younger. But you better start training your brain, because, financial education is a great protection from financial slavery.
Yeah. I know for me, my dad was terrified that I would never graduate from high school because I was a terrible. And the irony is, Robert, I never did graduate from high school. I got accepted into college after 10th grade, but I never, to this day, got a high school diploma.
Wow.
So to be worried, and he was right that I would never get that high school degree, but I went on and did things in a very unconventional way. And I would encourage younger people to think unconventionally, because I call 401ks the great 401k experiment. It didn't work.
No.
It was sold to Americans to workers as a replacement for a pension.
Wouldn't be a passive investor today. I'd be an entrepreneur. I'd be creating my own assets, doing my own study, managing my own account, finding out about tax laws and all the stuff that Rich Dad stands for.
And the sooner you do it, the better. You
Yes.
wait to 50, you got to start thinking about this as you're entering the workforce. I'd say go to work somewhere else for someone else for 3 to 5 years, and then the writing's on the wall. Start your own thing.
I think the most important thing a young person needs to take care of today is their attitude, their mind, and their education. Because and your savings, how can you save money when they're printing tons of it, trillions? And every stimulus is a theft of your wealth. If you think about that, when they print money to give to people who don't work, they're stealing your money, your wealth. And don't wait to be an old guy like our fathers or our generation, Ted's and my generation. We're out of time, and time is your greatest asset. So Ted, thank you very much. Keep up the good work. Keep sending me those disturbing texts. It's a good thing I don't need a pension, otherwise I'd be on suicide watch.
Well, my advice to younger people is, you can enjoy your 401k or whatever, or pension, but be skeptical. and make plans of your own, like Robert says, because ultimately it comes down to you. And most of these retirement schemes are not the promise that you thought they were.
So young people out there, don't listen to your parents. If they told you get a job and get a 401k and count on the government taking care of you and like the PBGC, Pension Guarantee Credit Corporation, and then Biden's team up there in the White House protecting I don't know who, I mean, you're in serious trouble. So I would just back it up again is rather than listen to your mommy and daddy. The reason I brought up the stock market, I mean, the last depression, it lasted years beyond the depression because people remembered how bad it was. So Ted and I were fortunate. We both had dads who lost their pensions, but that woke us up. And the greatest asset, let's say you're under 50, is your greatest asset today is time. The market crashed. I made a fortune because all the real estate prices crashed. So we went back in and we bought all this cheap real estate. So crashes are really, really good. But I think this crash, it says here, the biggest stock market crash in history is still coming. It's here. This is 2022. It's here. Pensions are crashing. Real estate's going to crash. Gold's going to go down. Silver's going to go down. Bitcoin's going to go down. The best opportunity of your lifetime if you take responsibility for what's inside your head and who puts it there. So Sarah, final words.
However, Ted, prior to this show, in prep for this show, he sent me this article about the New York State pension, right? And so I just want to read a stat because I want to prove my point. The rising pension costs threaten to strain the finances of the largest U.S. city. New York's financial plan, which was released in June, he said last year's information came out in June, and doesn't reflect the projected increase, already anticipates a $4.2 billion deficit in 2024. So to prove my point, you can't rely on the pensions. So when you say, well, what am I supposed to do? Our advice at the end of that show was exactly what they do. They have time left. You have to take care of your own retirement, which means investing in unconventional real estate, gold, all of the things that the government can't print.
Took a real estate course in 1974. It cost me $385. I learned how to buy real estate for nothing down by a real instructor. See, the problem with academics is most instructors are smart people, but they don't do what they preach. So the most important thing you can do as a young person is look for a teacher who actually does what they do.
That just popped into my head. I was watching a news station. I'm not going to say who it is. And the guest was a law professor. And so they were asking about this Trump raid on the White House, and I know we're way off topic, but I just want to say something because that always sticks in my head, right? Our professors don't actually do the real thing. So when you go to business school, do they run their own business? Blah, 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 right? Well, the law professor said, I'm not an attorney. I've never practiced law, but I teach it.
No.
Yes, and they used him as the expert to discuss the Mar-a-Lago
amendment. You cannot just search somebody's house.
So again, back to our point about credible sources and who we listen to. Do you want to take advice from someone who's never practiced law?
Not really. Like you don't want to take. I wouldn't want to take flight instruction from a college professor who never flew.
Exactly.
So
be careful who your teachers are. You have nothing but time. Take control of your own retirement.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, lesson number 1 for Rich Dad: choose your frickin' teachers wisely. Your greatest asset is the time you have left. And if your mommy, daddy, grandfather, or granduncle and all that move in and you're changing their diapers, just remember they probably listen to their mother, father, and school teacher.